The courtroom was silent, too silent, until the words no one ever expected shattered the air. The DNA results are in. Every camera in the room turned toward Shekinah, the woman once known as Tiny's best friend. But today, she wasn't just a friend. She was the center of the biggest celebrity scandal of the decade. The DNA report claimed something that could destroy one of hip-hop's most powerful families. Shekinah Anderson is the biological mother of King Harris, the son of rap legend T.I. and Tiny Harris. Whispers turned into gasps. Reporters scrambled for headlines. Tiny's face drained of color, her world spinning out of control as she struggled to hold back tears. Was this betrayal years in the making? Or had someone planted a lie so dark it could tear a family apart forever? Because what happened inside that courtroom wasn't just another celebrity drama. It was the kind of truth that burns bridges, ends friendships, and rewrites bloodlines. And tonight, the world demanded answers. The moment the DNA envelope was opened, the energy in that courtroom changed forever. You could feel it, the kind of silence that cuts through the air like glass. Tiny sat frozen, her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles turned white. Across from her, Shekinah avoided eye contact, staring down at the floor, her lips trembling. The judge cleared his throat, the sound of papers rustling like thunder in a storm. According to the certified DNA test, he began. That's when the whispers started to rise. Cameras clicked, phones recorded, and everyone held their breath. Outside, the world was already reacting. News outlets had picked up rumors of a shocking paternity revelation hours before court even convened. Hashtags like $DNA shock and Nar Tiny of Shekinah were already trending, but no one expected the confirmation to hit this hard. For over a decade, Shekinah Anderson had been known as Tiny's ride or die, her sister in everything but blood. They'd built businesses together, shared heartbreaks, and stood side by side on countless red carpets. So when the words "Shekinah is the biological mother" echoed through that courtroom, it didn't just destroy trust, it obliterated an entire history of friendship. Tiny's breath caught in her chest. She looked at T.I., who stood motionless, his jaw clenched and eyes dark, trying to process the impossible. Every memory, every photo, every birthday flashed before his eyes. King Harris, the boy he'd raised, the son he'd bragged about on stage, might not be Tiny's child after all. His mind screamed questions, but none of them made sense. How could Shekinah, of all people, be part of something like this? Had this truth been hidden all along, buried beneath years of loyalty and laughter? Finally, Shekinah looked up. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered something no microphone could catch. Tiny's lawyer leaned forward, demanding to know if she had known the truth, but Shekinah didn't answer. Her silence was louder than any confession. The crowd murmured, imaginations racing ahead of the facts. Reporters pushed closer, desperate for a reaction. Tiny, still shaking, stood up slowly. Her voice broke as she said, "This can't be true. It just can't." The judge called for order. But it was already chaos. Within minutes, social media exploded. Old videos of Shekinah and Tiny resurfaced, fans replaying every glance, every awkward smile, every moment of tension that suddenly made sense. Conspiracy threads formed instantly. Some claimed Shekinah had been obsessed with T.I. for years. Others insisted it was all a setup by the media to destroy Tiny's image. But behind all the noise, the pain was real. Tiny wasn't a celebrity anymore. In that moment, she was just a mother watching her world crumble. T.I. finally spoke, his voice low and controlled, but his eyes revealed a storm. "If this is true," he said, "then somebody's been lying to me for a very long time." The courtroom fell silent again. His words weren't directed at anyone in particular, but everyone felt the sting. Shekinah's shoulders shook as she began to cry. Tiny turned away, unable to look at her. For years, they had shared secrets. Now, one secret had destroyed everything. Outside the courthouse, paparazzi swarmed like bees. Cars honked, fans shouted questions, flashes blinded faces. "Shekinah, is it true?" "Tiny, how do you feel about the betrayal?" "T.I., are you staying with Tiny?" No one answered. Security rushed them through the crowd, but microphones still caught fragments. Tiny's sobs, Shekinah's whispered prayers, and T.I.'s heavy silence. Back inside, the legal team huddled around the DNA report. It was legitimate, sealed, certified, undeniable. But there was one thing no one could explain: how this report had surfaced now, after all these years. Who ordered it? Who leaked it? And why? A single anonymous tip had brought the media to that courtroom, but no one knew the source. Some said a disgruntled former employee had exposed the truth. Others believed it was part of a larger revenge plot designed to humiliate the Harris family. Later that night, clips from the hearing went viral. News anchors spoke with trembling voices, calling it the biggest betrayal in celebrity history. YouTube channels dropped hour-long breakdowns. Reaction videos flooded timelines. Fans argued, taking sides. Trust Team Tiny versus Team Shekinah. In the middle of it all, King Harris himself broke his silence on Instagram with a cryptic post. "Sometimes blood ain't what makes you family." It only deepened the mystery. Tiny spent the night alone in her hotel room, staring at the city lights. Every beep of her phone brought a new headline, a new betrayal. She didn't know what hurt more, the DNA revelation, or the thought that the woman she once trusted with her life might have known all along. She replayed every memory, every conversation, searching for clues she might have missed. Outside, the world was feasting on her pain. But inside, she was drowning in disbelief. Meanwhile, Shekinah's house had become a fortress. Friends said she hadn't left her bedroom in hours. Some claimed she was receiving death threats. Others said she was preparing to make a public statement. But before she could, a new rumor began to spread. One suggesting that the DNA test might not have been as straightforward as it seemed. There were whispers of tampered samples, hidden motives, and someone powerful manipulating the truth from the shadows. And as the city slept under the weight of scandal, one thing became clear. This was no longer just about family. It was about power, secrets, and revenge. Morning came like a blur. Reporters were already stationed outside the Harris mansion, their breath visible in the cool air as cameras rolled non-stop. The city hadn't stopped talking. Every radio host, gossip blogger, and podcaster was dissecting the story, each one claiming to have the real truth behind the DNA scandal. But inside the mansion, there was only silence. Tiny sat on the edge of the bed, her phone lighting up every few seconds with messages she didn't dare read. Her reflection in the mirror looked like a stranger. Eyes swollen, hair undone, the sparkle that once defined her completely gone. T.I. walked in quietly. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The air between them was heavy, suffocating. "You think it's true?" she finally asked, her voice barely a whisper. He didn't answer right away. He stared at the floor, hands on his head, trying to find logic in something that made no sense. "I don't know what to believe anymore," he said. "But whoever leaked this, they knew exactly what they were doing." His tone wasn't angry. It was cold, sharp, focused. Tiny realized he wasn't just hurt. He was suspicious. By midday, the media had shifted focus. Anonymous insiders claimed the DNA test hadn't been ordered by the court, but by a third party connected to an old business dispute. Someone wanted this story out, and they wanted the Harris family destroyed. Meanwhile, Shekinah finally broke her silence on a shaky live stream. Her voice trembled as thousands watched in real time. "I never did nothing to hurt Tiny," she said. "I don't even know where that report came from, but I swear to God, this ain't the truth y'all think it is." Her eyes were red. She looked exhausted, fragile, desperate for someone to believe her. But the internet doesn't forgive easily. Comments flooded in, half calling her a liar, the other half begging her to tell more. Tiny saw the clip and threw her phone across the room. "She's acting like she's the victim," she cried, tears streaking through her makeup. "She took everything from me, my peace, my reputation, my son." T.I. didn't stop her this time. He just watched, his mind spinning through possibilities. He'd dealt with scandals before, but this one felt orchestrated, too clean, too perfectly timed. There were legal documents, coordinated media leaks, and insiders whispering identical talking points. Someone was pulling strings. Later that night, an envelope appeared at their gate. No return address, no markings. Inside was a single USB drive labeled only "Truth." Security footage showed a dark SUV pulling up at midnight, dropping it off, then vanishing into the night. Against Tiny's protests, T.I. plugged it in. The screen flickered, then a video began to play. Grainy footage, a timestamp from years earlier. In it, a voice that sounded eerily like Shekinah's was heard arguing with someone about keeping the child safe and not letting the truth come out. But the clip ended abruptly. No faces, no full context, just enough to pour gasoline on an already burning fire. By morning, every major gossip outlet had the clip. It was everywhere. "Leaked video proves she knew," blared one headline. "Tiny betrayed by her best friend," screamed another. Tiny went completely offline, deleting her posts and disappearing from the public eye. Her management released a short statement denying everything, calling the video deepfake manipulation meant to defame. But the damage was done. Public opinion had turned vicious. King Harris, caught in the middle, refused to speak to either woman. Friends said he'd moved out of the family home, staying with relatives until the chaos calmed down. Paparazzi caught him once, late at night outside a diner. Hoodie up, looking lost. When a reporter asked if he believed the DNA results, he simply said, "I don't believe in nothing anymore." That one line became the headline of the day. Inside the Harris mansion, Tiny began receiving anonymous messages, screenshots, documents, fragments of conversations. Each one hinted at something darker, that this entire scandal had been manufactured by a rival entertainment executive who had a long-standing grudge against T.I. Years ago, a deal had fallen through, costing millions. Revenge, it seemed, could wait as long as it needed to. And what better way to destroy a man than by tearing apart his family? By now, the FBI had reportedly opened an investigation into how private medical documents were leaked. Lawyers circled the case like sharks. Still, public fascination only grew. People wanted more drama, more tears, more betrayal. TV talk shows debated the ethics of celebrity privacy while replaying clips of Tiny crying in slow motion. Memes flooded social media, some mocking, others sympathizing. But for Tiny, it wasn't entertainment. It was trauma on repeat. One night, unable to sleep, she scrolled through old photos of her and Shekinah, laughing backstage, goofing off in the studio, hugging after shows. They looked inseparable. Two sisters against the world. She whispered to the screen, "Why did you do this?" But deep down, a smaller voice whispered back, "What if she didn't?" The thought scared her more than anything. Because if Shekinah wasn't behind it, then who was? Across town, in a dimly lit motel room, Shekinah sat across from a shadowed figure. The man's face was hidden beneath a hood, his voice low and deliberate. "You were never supposed to be the target," he said. But once the story leaked, it couldn't be contained. Shekinah's voice cracked. "They think I did this. They think I'm evil." The man slid a folder across the table. "This will prove who really did." Inside the folder were bank transfers, emails, and legal documents, all pointing to a media company with ties to one of T.I.'s old rivals. Before Shekinah could react, the man was gone, vanished into the night, leaving only his final words echoing in the room. "They'll come for you next." As dawn broke, a new headline hit every feed. "Mysterious evidence may clear Shekinah's name." The story was spiraling beyond anyone's control. Tiny woke up to a dozen missed calls, from her manager, her publicist, her friends. The truth was finally bleeding through the cracks. But whether it would heal anything or destroy everyone involved was still uncertain. And in the quiet moments between chaos, one question haunted them all. If the DNA wasn't fake, then whose truth was it hiding? By the third day, the story had outgrown everyone involved. What began as a courtroom shock had become a nationwide obsession. News channels ran 24-hour coverage. Talk shows speculated about motives. Every influencer online had an opinion. Tiny's home had become a fortress. Security guarded the gates while helicopters hovered overhead, desperate for a single image of her reaction. Inside, she sat alone, staring at the television as anchors debated her life like it was a movie. T.I. paced the room, phone glued to his ear, demanding answers from lawyers, investigators, anyone who could explain how something this personal became a public circus. Every lead pointed to the same name, Vibream Media, a company notorious for weaponizing gossip to destroy reputations. Their fingerprints were on everything. The leaked video, the court documents, even the anonymous tip that started it all. But the question remained, who inside the family gave them access? Then Tiny's phone buzzed, a new message from an unknown number. If you want the truth, meet me alone. 10 p.m., Studio 12. The message disappeared seconds later. Her heart pounded, torn between fear and desperation. T.I. tried to stop her, but she had already made up her mind. I need to know, she said quietly. Even if it kills me. The studio was dark and empty, the hum of old speakers filling the air. Tiny stepped inside cautiously, her footsteps echoing through the room. A shadow moved in the corner. She froze. Then, the light flicked on. It was Shekinah. Her eyes were red, her face pale, but there was a quiet strength in her voice. I didn't do this, she said. And I can prove it. She slid a flash drive across the table. Tiny didn't touch it. Why should I believe you? She whispered. Because they played both of us, Shekinah replied. You think I'd ruin my life? And yours? For this? Her hands trembled as she pulled out documents, emails, and phone logs. Each one traced back to Vibream's CEO, a man who'd once tried to sign T.I. to an exclusive contract, and was humiliated when he refused. He's been waiting for revenge, she said. They forged the documents, paid someone inside the hospital to alter records, and sent fake DNA results to the court. It was all staged. Tiny's breath hitched. The room spun. Every headline, every sleepless night, every hateful comment, all of it orchestrated. She grabbed the papers, scanning them through blurry eyes. If this is true, she said, then we're sitting on proof of a crime. We need to go to the police. Shekinah nodded. I already tried, she said softly, but they won't listen to me anymore. You're the only one they'll believe. At that moment, the studio door burst open. T.I. stepped in, flanked by security. He looked between the two women, anger and relief battling for control. So, it's true, he said, holding up his phone. The same files came to me an hour ago. They were planning to drop another story, saying you two were working together to scam the public. He exhaled slowly, his voice steady but cold. We end this. Tonight. The next day, T.I.'s legal team went public with undeniable evidence. Digital tampering, fake signatures, and manipulated DNA samples. Screenshots, emails, and payment trails hit every major outlet. The internet flipped overnight. Hashtags that once mocked Tiny and Shekinah turned into floods of apology posts. VibraStream's stock plummeted. Arrests were rumored. But even as the truth spread, the scars didn't fade. Tiny and Shekinah had spent weeks tearing each other apart. No apology could erase that pain. A week later, the two women sat together on camera, not as friends, not as enemies, but as survivors. Tiny spoke first. We were both lied to, she said, her voice trembling. And we let the world decide who we were before we even knew the truth. She wiped her tears, then whispered, I just want my sister back. The interview ended in silence. Two broken women finally facing the world side by side. Outside, cameras flashed again, but this time the headlines read differently. Truth restored, Harris family fights back. And somewhere in the middle of that chaos, Tiny managed a small, fragile smile. For the first time in weeks, it felt like hope. Yet deep inside, a quiet thought lingered. If someone could fake a truth this powerful, how many other lies had the world already believed? And just like that, the story that began with betrayal ended with another kind of mystery. Not about DNA, but about how far people will go to turn truth into entertainment. As the dust settles, one question still echoes louder than any courtroom verdict. How did we get here? How did friendship turn to war? And truth become a weapon? The DNA scandal that shook the Harris family may have ended on paper, but the wounds it left behind are far from healed. Tiny and Shekinah might have found fragments of peace, but the internet never forgets. Every clip, every rumor, every manipulated truth remains floating online, permanent, immortal, waiting to be rediscovered by the next person hungry for drama. So, what happens next? Will Tiny forgive the world that mocked her? Will Shekinah ever rebuild her name after being branded a liar? And what about the masterminds behind it all? Will justice ever find them? Or will they just disappear into another headline? That's where you come in. Because this isn't just their story. It's a reflection of the world we've built. One where lies go viral before the truth even has a chance to breathe. Do you think Tiny and Shekinah should reconcile? Or are some betrayals just too deep to forgive? Was this all a carefully crafted setup? Or did the truth hide somewhere in between? Tell us what you believe. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't just scroll past this. Be part of the conversation. Hit that like button if you believe the truth still matters. And subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter in this unbelievable saga. Because in the world of fame, betrayal, and power, the story never really ends.